The Grand Hall of the Galactic Tribunal stretched higher than any cathedral on Earth. Its walls were made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Ambassador Marcus Chen stood in the center of the chamber, his black diplomatic suit looking plain among the colorful alien dignitaries surrounding him. Marcus had been on Valix Prime for 3 days now. His mission was simple: negotiate better trade routes between Earth and the outer colonies. It was routine work, boring even. He never expected what was about to happen. Around him sat representatives from 47 different species. Some had scales, others had fur. A few floated in tanks of liquid. One delegate was just a cloud of glowing gas that somehow spoke through a translator box. Marcus had gotten used to the strangeness. Humans were still newcomers to the galactic community, arriving only 20 years ago. He had learned to stay calm and professional no matter what he saw. The tribunal chairman, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin, was reviewing trade documents when the great doors burst open. Every head turned, every conversation stopped. Queen Jathera of the Crix Empire entered the chamber. Marcus had read about the Crix in his briefing files. They were an ancient insectoid race, powerful and mysterious. Their queens lived for centuries and ruled absolutely. They rarely attended tribunal sessions. Seeing one here was like seeing royalty from legend step into a modern office building. Jathera stood nearly 8 feet tall. Her body was covered in dark, shimmering chitin that looked like polished obsidian. She had 6 limbs, 4 arms, and 2 legs. Her face was almost human-like, but with large, multifaceted eyes that reflected rainbow colors. Behind her head, a crown of natural bone-like protrusions formed an elegant arc. She wore robes of deep purple that seemed to move on their own. Behind her came 12 guards, each carrying energy spears that hummed with barely contained power. The chairman rose from his seat. "Your Majesty, we were not expecting you. This is a routine trade session." "Silence," Jathera said. Her voice was strange, layered, as if 3 people spoke at once. "I come on a matter that concerns the future of my empire." Marcus felt his heart beat faster. Something was wrong. Queens didn't just show up to trade meetings. Jathera's rainbow eyes swept across the chamber. They moved from delegate to delegate, searching. Then they locked onto Marcus. She raised one elegant arm and pointed directly at him. "He is the father," she declared. The entire court gasped. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. "What?" The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates jumped from their seats. Some shouted in languages Marcus didn't understand. The chairman banged his gavel, trying to restore order, but nobody was listening. "This is impossible," someone yelled. "A human? With a Crix queen? The prophecies never mentioned this." Marcus stood frozen, his mind racing. Father? Father of what? He had never even touched an alien, let alone. He couldn't even finish the thought. "Your Majesty," the chairman said loudly, finally getting some quiet. "Please explain this accusation." Jathera moved forward with perfect grace. Her guards followed, keeping the crowd back. She stopped 10 feet from Marcus, studying him with those strange, beautiful eyes. "3 months ago, I laid an egg," she said. "This is a sacred event that happens once per century for a Crix queen. The egg contains my heir, the future ruler of my people." The chamber was silent now. Every being leaned forward to listen. When a Crix queen reproduces, the father's genetic signature appears in the egg's shell as a pattern of light. It is unmistakable. It cannot be faked. She gestured to Marcus again. "The pattern matches his genetic code. I have confirmed it with our most advanced scientists." "But I never—" Marcus started, then stopped. He was a diplomat. He needed to think carefully. "Your Majesty, with all respect, I met you only once. 6 months ago at the reception after the treaty signing. We spoke for maybe 15 minutes. "I remember," Jathera said softly. "You told me about Earth's books. You recommended a story to me. Something about a man who sacrificed everything to save people he loved. Marcus did remember that. It had been a pleasant conversation. The Queen had seemed interested in human culture, which was rare among the older species. They had talked about literature while eating strange alien food. Then they had said goodbye, and he hadn't seen her since. Talking about books doesn't make babies, Marcus said, then immediately regretted how informal that sounded. A few delegates made sounds that might have been laughter. The chairman raised his hand for silence. Your Majesty, you understand what you are claiming? If a human has truly fathered a Crike's heir, this is unprecedented in galactic history. No alien has ever bred with the Cracks. Your species has been isolated by choice for millions of years. I understand perfectly, Jathera said. I would not make this claim lightly. The egg is in my ship. I have brought genetic scanners. Test him yourselves if you doubt me. The chairman looked at Marcus. Ambassador Chen, do you consent to testing? Marcus wanted to say no. He wanted to run from this crazy situation. But he was Earth's representative. Refusing would make humanity look guilty or weak. I consent, he said, because I know the test will prove I'm not the father. I haven't done anything wrong. Very well, the chairman said. He gestured to his assistants. Bring the medical team. While they waited, Marcus tried to catch Jathera's eyes. She looked back at him, and for a moment he saw something there. Confusion? Fear? She didn't seem angry or accusatory. She seemed as lost as he felt. The medical team arrived with their scanning equipment. They took samples from Marcus, blood, skin cells, hair. They worked quickly and efficiently. Nobody spoke. After 20 minutes, the head scientist, a being with tentacles and too many eyes, reviewed the results on a glowing screen. The scientist looked up at the chairman. The match is positive, it said. Against all biological probability, the human is the father. Marcus sat in a room that looked like it belonged in a palace from a dream. The walls were made of smooth, dark stone that glowed softly from within. Strange plants with silver leaves grew in corners, filling the air with a scent like rain and honey. Through the tall windows, he could see 3 moons hanging in the purple sky of the Crick's homeworld. He was a prisoner, a comfortable prisoner, but a prisoner nonetheless. Protective custody, they called it. The tribunal had decided he couldn't return to Earth until they understood what had happened. Too much was at stake. If a human could father a Crick's heir, it changed everything about how the galaxy worked. Earth's government had sent him angry messages, then worried messages, then lawyers. Marcus ignored most of them. He had bigger problems. The door opened without a sound. Queen Jathera entered, alone this time. No guards, no advisors, just her. May I sit? She asked. Marcus gestured to the chair across from him. It's your palace. She sat with elegant movements, folding her 4 arms in her lap. Up close, Marcus could see that her chitinous skin had tiny patterns etched into it, like tattoos or natural markings. They were beautiful. You must hate me, Jathera said quietly. Marcus was surprised. Hate you? I'm confused. Angry at the situation, maybe, but not at you. You seem as confused as I am. I am, she admitted. Her voice had that strange, layered quality, but softer now. When the egg showed your pattern, I thought there was a mistake. I tested it 7 times. Every test said the same thing. You are the father. But how? Marcus leaned forward. We shook hands once. We talked about books. That's it. I didn't even know Cricks could reproduce with other species. We cannot, Jathera said firmly. Or we could not until now. Crick's reproduction requires what we call resonance of souls. 2 beings must connect deeply, sharing thoughts and emotions at a level beyond words. It only works between Cricks. Every scientist, every holy book, every piece of history says this. No exceptions. Then the tests are wrong. The tests are never wrong. Jathara stood and walked to the window. I have ruled my people for 300 years. I have never been wrong about the egg. The pattern does not lie. Marcus rubbed his face. He hadn't slept well in days. So what do? We find the truth, Jathara said. Real science, not politics, not fear, just truth. Over the next week, Marcus lived in a strange routine. Scientists came and went, running tests that he didn't fully understand. They scanned his brain, his blood, his genetic code. They asked him strange questions about his feelings, his dreams, his memories. Jathara was tested too. She sat through the same uncomfortable procedures with perfect dignity. Slowly, they became something like friends. Tell me about Earth, she said one evening as they sat in the garden. The Crick's homeworld had beautiful gardens, filled with plants that sang in the wind. It's loud, Marcus said with a smile. Messy, chaotic. We have over 200 countries, thousands of languages, millions of cultures. We argue about everything. We're still figuring out how to live together peacefully. And yet you reached the stars, Jathara said. Most species unify before they leave their home world. Humans came to space while still divided. That requires courage, stubbornness? Both, probably. Marcus watched a silver butterfly-like creature land on a flower. We're good at doing things that seem impossible, maybe because we're too stubborn to accept limits. Like forming bonds across species? Jathara asked quietly. That made Marcus think. On the 10th day, the lead scientist called them both to the laboratory. Dr. Vothek was a small, furry being with 12 fingers and eyes that never blinked. I have found something, Vothek said, pointing to a holographic display. But you will not like it. The display showed genetic code, spiraling in complex patterns. Marcus couldn't read it, but he could see where two different colors intertwined. This is the heir's genetic structure, Vothek explained. Half Cricks, half human. But there's more. I found ancient markers in both your genetic codes, markers that have been dormant for billions of years. What kind of markers? Jathara asked. Precursor markers, Vothek said, from the architects. Marcus had heard that name in his history briefings. The architects were a legend, an ancient race that supposedly existed billions of years ago before any modern species. Most scientists thought they were just a myth. The architects were real? Marcus asked. Perhaps, Vothek said carefully. What I can tell you is this. All galactic species share some basic genetic similarities. We evolved on different worlds, but certain patterns repeat. Most scientists believe this is just universal biology, but these markers suggest something else. We may all come from the same source. A common ancestor, Jathara said slowly. We are all related? Distantly. Very distantly. Vothek adjusted the display. Over billions of years, species specialized. They adapted to their worlds so completely that they lost the ability to recognize other species as kin. The genetic locks became absolute. But humans are different? Marcus guessed. Yes. Vothek looked at him with something like wonder. Humans are generalists. Your planet was harsh. You have deserts, jungles, ice caps, oceans. You adapted constantly but never specialized. You remained flexible. Jathara was quiet for a long moment. So when Marcus and I spoke, when we connected over that story, you awakened something ancient, Vothek finished. Something that has been sleeping in both your species. The ability to recognize each other as kin, to bond across the barriers. Marcus felt his heart racing. Does the tribunal know this? Vothek's expression changed. Fear, Marcus realized. The scientist was afraid. I sent my preliminary findings to Chancellor Vexnor 3 days ago, Vothek said quietly. He ordered me to stop all research immediately. He said the information was classified for galactic security. Security? Jathra's voice became hard. What threat does knowledge pose? That is the question, Vothek said, and I think the answer is very dangerous. That night, someone tried to poison Marcus's food. Only the quick action of a loyal guard saved his life. The next morning, there was an explosion in the laboratory. Dr. Vothek survived, but all the research equipment was destroyed. Marcus met Jathra in her private chambers. They're trying to kill us, he said simply. Yes, Jathra agreed. Both of us. And the heir. Why? Jathra's rainbow eyes reflected the light like jewels. Because we proved something they want to keep hidden. Humans can bond with any species through emotional connection. If that truth spreads, it breaks their power structure, Marcus finished. Exactly. Jathra stood tall. We need allies. Fast. Chancellor Vexnor stood in his private chamber, watching the holographic reports with cold satisfaction. He was a Vortakan, a species known for their calculating minds and silver tongues. His skin was pale gray, his eyes completely black, and his three-fingered hands moved with precise, controlled gestures. The poisoning failed, his assistant reported. The human survived. Then we try again, Vexnor said calmly. And we make sure there are no witnesses this time. Sir, perhaps we should reconsider. If this information about the architects is true, it doesn't matter if it's true, Vexnor interrupted. What matters is maintaining order. The galactic hierarchy has stood for millions of years. Species know their place. Trade flows smoothly. Wars are rare. All because we accept biological boundaries. He turned to face his assistant fully. If humans can bond with any species, those boundaries collapse. The lesser species will demand equality. The ancient powers will lose their privilege. Chaos will consume everything we've built. But, sir, some species are dying out. Their genetic pools are too small. Better a few species die with dignity than the entire galaxy burn in revolution, Vexnor said coldly. He pulled up another hologram, showing Marcus and Jathra in the palace garden. End this quietly. Make it look like an accident. Both of them, and destroy the egg. Back in the Crick's palace, Marcus was learning something important about himself. He was good at staying alive. Growing up in New York City had taught him to notice things, which subway cars to avoid, which streets felt wrong, who was watching too closely. Those skills worked on alien worlds, too. He noticed the guard who walked with a slight limp always appeared before accidents happened. He saw how certain servants avoided eye contact. He learned which foods came from the palace kitchens and which came from outside sources. You're paranoid, Jathra said, when he refused to eat the fruit she offered. I'm careful, Marcus corrected. That fruit bowl wasn't here this morning. Nobody brought it in while I was watching. It just appeared. Jathra sniffed the fruit carefully. Her species had excellent senses. You're right. There's something wrong with it. A chemical I don't recognize. She threw the entire bowl out the window. We need help, Marcus said. Real allies. People who want the truth more than they want to protect the system. The council races won't help us, Jathra said bitterly. They're all benefiting from the current structure. The powerful stay powerful. The weak stay weak. What about the weak? Marcus asked. The species at the bottom. What do they have to lose? Jathra's eyes widened slightly. You want to recruit the lesser species? I want to recruit people who are tired of being called lesser, Marcus said firmly. Over the next 3 days, they carefully reached out. They sent secret messages to species that the council ignored or dismissed. The Tikri, small reptilian beings who worked as laborers. The Meln, who were treated as servants despite having rich cultural traditions. The Yan, who the council barely acknowledged existed. Marcus did something else too. He shared stories. He told them about Earth's history, about how humans had once treated each other as lesser based on skin color or where they were born, how they had fought wars over these divisions, and how, slowly and painfully, they had learned that these differences didn't matter, that all humans deserved dignity and respect. "Your species fought among yourselves?" asked Rekta, a Tikri representative who had snuck into the palace. "For thousands of years," Marcus admitted. "We still fight sometimes, but we're learning. And one thing we learned is this: the people in power never give it up willingly. You have to take it, not with violence, but with truth, with solidarity, by refusing to accept their version of reality." The small creatures looked at each other. Something changed in their eyes. Hope, maybe, or determination. "What do you need from us?" Rekta asked. "Information," Marcus said. "Eyes and ears. Your servants and laborers. You go everywhere, but nobody notices you. You hear everything." "We do," Rekta agreed. "And we've heard disturbing things. Chancellor Vexnor is planning something big. A military action." "Against who?" Jathara demanded. "Against your homeworld, Majesty," Rekta said quietly. "He's calling it a stabilization mission. He says the Cricks are harboring dangerous criminals and must be brought to order." Marcus felt ice in his stomach. "He's going to attack your planet?" "My people are proud warriors," Jathara said, her voice hard. "But we are one species against the entire Council fleet. If they attack in force—" "Then we need to make sure they can't," Marcus said. He was thinking fast now, putting pieces together. "Vexnor is scared of information spreading. He's tried to kill us quietly. But if he attacks openly, everyone will ask why. We need to give them the answer before he can silence us." "How?" Jathara asked. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "We do what humans do best. We tell a story." With help from the lesser species, they began gathering evidence. Rekta's people found deleted files in the council databases. The Meln discovered hidden research about the architects that dated back centuries. The Yan, who had been dismissed as primitive, turned out to have oral histories that spoke of the first family from which all life came. Piece by piece, they built a case. The council had known the truth for generations. They had buried it deliberately, not for security, but for power. Marcus also made a discovery in Jathara's library. She had read the book he recommended, the story about sacrifice and love. But she hadn't just read it. She had studied it, made notes, tried to understand the emotional resonance that humans put into their fiction. "This story made me feel things I'd never felt," she admitted. "Your people pour their souls into these tales. When I read it, I felt connected. To you, to humanity, to something bigger than myself." "That's what stories do," Marcus said softly. "They remind us we're not alone, that others have felt what we feel, that we're all part of the same human—" He paused, then smiled. "The same family." Meanwhile, Chancellor Vexnor was losing patience. Reports said the human and the queen were building alliances with inferior species. Unacceptable, dangerous. He gave the order. The council fleet would launch in 2 days. Target: the Crick's homeworld. But Vexnor had made a mistake. He assumed the lesser species were beneath his notice. He never imagined they could organize, could resist. The Tikri who served on his ship heard the order. They passed it to the Meln who cleaned the council chambers. They told the Yan who maintained the communication arrays. Within hours, Marcus and Jathara knew everything. 2 days, Marcus said. "We have 2 days to stop a war." "We need to go public," Jathara decided. "Broadcast everything. The truth about the architects, the genetic evidence, the conspiracy. If we do that—" "Vexnor will have no choice," Marcus warned. "He'll attack immediately to stop the signal." "I know," Jathera said. She placed one of her hands on Marcus's shoulder. It was the first time she'd touched him since the tribunal. But some truths are worth fighting for. Marcus looked into her rainbow eyes. Somewhere in the palace, her egg was growing. Their child, impossible, unprecedented, terrifying, and wonderful. Then let's make sure the whole galaxy hears our story, he said. The communication chamber deep in the Cryx palace hummed with activity. Marcus watched as Recta and a dozen other Tikri worked on the broadcast equipment. Their small hands moved quickly, connecting wires and adjusting frequencies. Will this work? Marcus asked. It has to, Recta said without looking up. We're hijacking every council communication channel. Every planet, every ship, every public screen in the galaxy will receive your message. They won't be able to stop it once it starts. Jathera stood nearby, holding a small crystalline container. Inside, her egg glowed with soft purple light. Patterns of gold and silver moved across its surface like living art. Are you sure about this? Marcus asked her quietly. Once we broadcast, there's no going back. They'll come for us with everything they have. I am sure, Jathera said firmly. My daughter deserves to live in a galaxy that knows the truth. All children deserve that. Marcus nodded. Over the past weeks, he had stopped thinking of the egg as just a political problem. It was a child, his child. That reality still felt impossible, but he couldn't deny the genetic tests or the strange bond he felt growing with Jathera. The Meln have sent us something, a voice called out. It was Yara, one of the servant species who had joined their cause. She held up a data crystal. Historical records they stole from the council archives. Very old records. Marcus took the crystal and loaded it into the display system. Holographic images filled the air. What he saw took his breath away. Ancient cities stretched across landscapes that looked like paradise. Beings walked together, different shapes, different sizes, but moving as one community. The architecture was beyond anything the modern galaxy had created, beautiful and functional in ways that seemed almost magical. The architects, Jathera whispered. The images continued. Libraries filled with knowledge, gardens that spanned continents, ships that sailed between stars like sailing boats on water, and everywhere. Different species working together, learning together, living together. They weren't just one species, Marcus realized. They were all species. They were a civilization built on unity. The images showed more. Scientists from different species working on genetic projects. What looked like deliberate modification of DNA. Colonization of new worlds. And then something changed. The images showed species separating, taking different planets, developing in isolation. They did this on purpose, Jathera said, reading the ancient text that accompanied the images. The architects chose to specialize. Each species adapted perfectly to their new homeworld. They believed it would make them stronger. But it made them separate, Marcus added. Over billions of years, they forgot they were ever one people. They evolved so differently that they couldn't even recognize each other anymore. The final images showed something sad. Ships that no longer visited each other. Species that looked at their neighbors as aliens, not family. Wars, isolation, fear. They lost themselves, Yara said softly. They became so different that they forgot how to connect. Until now, Marcus said. He looked at the egg in Jathera's hands. Until a human came along who never got the memo about staying separate. Recta suddenly looked up from his work. We have a problem. Council ships have been detected entering Cryx space. They're moving fast. Military formation. How long? Jathera demanded. 6 hours, maybe less. Then we broadcast now, Marcus said. Is the equipment ready? Ready enough, Recta confirmed. They set up 2 cameras. Marcus stood in front of one, Jathera in front of the other. Behind them, The holographic images of the architects played on a loop. "Remember," Marcus said to everyone in the room, "once we start, they'll try to jam the signal. Keep it going as long as possible. Every second counts." He took a deep breath. Jathera nodded at him. Rekta counted down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. The cameras activated. "My name is Ambassador Marcus Chen of Earth," Marcus began. His voice was calm, clear. "I am speaking to you from the Krix homeworld. What I'm about to tell you will challenge everything you believe about the galaxy and your place in it." On the other camera, Jathera spoke in her layered voice. "I am Queen Jathera of the Krix Empire. For 300 years, I have ruled my people. Today, I break my silence to share a truth that the Galactic Council has hidden for generations." They took turns speaking, showing the evidence piece by piece, the genetic tests, the architect images, the hidden histories, the proof that all galactic species shared a common ancestor. "The Council discovered this truth centuries ago," Marcus explained. "They buried it because it threatened their power structure. If all species are related, then no species is superior. The hierarchy collapses." 3 months ago, something impossible happened, Jathera said. She held up the egg for the cameras. "I laid an egg. A Krix queen reproduces only through deep emotional connection. We believed this only worked within our species. We were wrong. This egg," Marcus said, his voice filled with emotion, "is proof that the ancient bonds can be restored. Human and Krix, connected through something as simple as a shared story. We awaken genetic memories that have been sleeping for billions of years." They showed Dr. Vothek's research, the dormant architect markers, the way human emotional flexibility acted as a key to unlock what other species had lost. "Humanity didn't specialize," Marcus explained. "We stayed generalist because Earth forced us to adapt constantly. We remained flexible, and that flexibility meant we kept something the rest of you lost: the ability to emotionally connect across all barriers." "The Council fears this truth," Jathera said. "Chancellor Vexnor has ordered my planet destroyed to silence us. Even now, Council warships approach. They will arrive within hours." Marcus looked directly into the camera. "But here's what they don't understand. This isn't about one human and one Krix. This is about all of us. Every species in this galaxy carries the architect legacy. You've just forgotten how to access it." "We can teach you," Jathera said. "Through stories, through emotional connection, through choosing to see each other as family instead of aliens." They played clips from Earth stories, movies showing human connection, books about love and sacrifice, music that made people feel, art that spoke across cultural boundaries. "This is humanity's gift," Marcus said. "Not weapons, not technology, just the stubborn belief that everyone deserves to be understood, that every being has a story worth hearing, that we're all connected, even when we look different." "Join us," Jathera urged. "Demand the truth from your leaders. Connect with species you've been taught to ignore. Read human stories. Feel what we felt. Wake up the part of yourself that remembers we're all one family." The broadcast had been running for 17 minutes when the first jamming signals hit. The image flickered. "They're trying to shut us down!" Rekta shouted. "Keep going!" Marcus yelled back. The signal stabilized. The lesser species were fighting back, rerouting the broadcast through hidden channels. "To the species the Council calls lesser," Marcus said urgently, "you are not inferior. You are the key. You still remember how to work together because you never had power to corrupt you. Build bridges, form alliances, show the galaxy what unity looks like." "And to the Council," Jathera said, her voice like ice. "If you attack my world, you prove everything we've said. You show the galaxy that you value power over truth, over life, over family." The signal failed completely 30 seconds later. But 30 seconds was enough. The message had been sent to every corner of the galaxy. Now they could only wait to see what would happen next. Chancellor Vexnor watched the broadcast from the bridge of his flagship. His black eyes showed no emotion, but his hands trembled slightly. Around him, officers stood frozen, staring at the screens. When the signal finally cut out, silence filled the bridge. "Sir," his communications officer said nervously, "the broadcast reached every system. Billions saw it before we could stop it." "I know," Vexnor said quietly. "Proceed with the attack. We destroy the Crick's homeworld and claim it was necessary to stop dangerous misinformation." But something was wrong. The officer wasn't moving. "Did you hear me?" Vexnor demanded. "I gave you an order." "Sir, The officer looked around at the other crew members. "Sir, I'm Tikri. My species has served the Council for generations. We've been invisible, ignored. But that broadcast, it spoke to something inside me. Something I didn't know was there." "You're refusing orders?" Vexnor's voice was dangerous. "I'm asking questions," the officer said, standing straighter. "If we're all related, why do we treat some species as servants? Why do we hide the truth? What are we so afraid of?" Around the bridge, other crew members nodded. A Melon navigator, a Yan engineer. Even some of the higher species looked uncertain. Vexnor saw his power crumbling in real time. Similar scenes played out across the Council fleet. Soldiers questioned their orders. Officers debated in hushed voices. The lesser species, who kept every ship running, began to slow down their work. Not quite refusing, but not quite obeying either. The attack formation broke apart as ships hesitated, waiting for new orders that made sense. On the Crick's homeworld, Marcus stood at the palace window, watching the sky. Jathera's guards had reported the Council fleet slowing down, but they were still approaching. "They might still attack," Jathera said beside him. She held the egg close to her body. "Maybe," Marcus admitted. "But look." He pointed to the planet's communication networks. Messages were flooding in from across the galaxy, thousands of them, then millions. "We believe you," said one message from a young Vortakan student. "My grandmother told me stories about the first family," wrote a Yan elder. "I thought they were just legends." "Thank you for proving they were real." "How do we wake up these genetic memories?" asked a scientist from a species Marcus had never heard of. "We're forming unity groups on 17 planets," reported a Tikri organizer. "Species that never spoke before are meeting, sharing stories, trying to connect." The messages kept coming. Not everyone believed them. Some called it lies and propaganda, but enough people believed, enough to matter. "It's working," Jathera whispered. "They're waking up." Then something unexpected happened. A communication came through on the Royal Channel. It was from Chancellor Vexnor's flagship, but it wasn't Vexnor's voice. "Your Majesty, this is Commander Tekri of the 4th Fleet," a tired voice said. "I am Tikri, recently promoted from engineering to command after recent developments. Chancellor Vexnor has been removed from authority by unanimous crew decision. We request permission to land on your planet to discuss peace terms." Marcus and Jathera looked at each other in shock. "Permission granted," Jathera said quickly. Over the next hours, the story became clear. The broadcast had triggered something across the fleet. Lesser species had simply stopped following orders. Without them, the ships couldn't function. They hadn't been violent. They had just asked, "Why?" and refused to accept "because I said so" as an answer. The higher species, faced with crews that wouldn't obey and their own growing doubts, had turned on the Council leadership. Vexnor and his closest allies were now in custody, awaiting trial. A new council was forming. One with representatives from every species, not just the powerful ones. But the real change was happening on thousands of planets. Marcus received a message from Earth. His government was in chaos. Every nation wanted to send ambassadors, teachers, artists. Humanity's stories were suddenly the most valuable commodity in the galaxy, but more than that, humans themselves were in demand. "They want us to visit," Marcus read from his screen. "Dozens of species are requesting human cultural exchanges. They want to learn how we connect, how we empathize, how we tell stories that make people feel." "Your people will be busy," Jathera said, with something that might have been a smile. 3 months later, Marcus stood in a very different room. It was a medical chamber in the palace, filled with soft light and gentle sounds. Jathera lay on a raised platform, her breathing steady. The egg rested beside her, now cracked open. Inside was their daughter. She was beautiful and strange. Her body had the basic shape of a Crix, with chitinous skin that gleamed dark purple, but her face was softer, more human-like. She had 4 arms like her mother, but 5 fingers on each hand like her father. Her eyes were large and expressive, shifting colors between human brown and Crix rainbow. "She's perfect," Marcus whispered, reaching out carefully to touch her tiny hand. She gripped his finger with surprising strength. "She is Hope," Jathera said softly. "Hope with a very loud voice." Indeed, their daughter was already making soft, chirping sounds that somehow conveyed curiosity and hunger at the same time. Medical teams from across the galaxy had studied the birth. The child's genetic structure was remarkable. Her body produced unique enzymes that seemed to help other species overcome their genetic barriers. Already, scientists were finding that exposure to these enzymes helped different species form emotional connections more easily. "She's a bridge," Dr. Vothek had explained. "Her very existence makes it easier for others to reconnect with their architect heritage." Marcus had been offered a new position, First Ambassador of Stories. His job was to travel the galaxy, sharing human culture and helping other species rediscover their capacity for cross-species empathy. He had accepted, with one condition: Jathera and their daughter would travel with him. "We're a family," he had said simply. "Families stick together." Now, holding his daughter for the first time, Marcus thought about everything that had led to this moment. A simple conversation about books, a shared story, an emotional connection that shouldn't have been possible. "What should we name her?" he asked. Jathera thought for a moment. "In your language, what word means one who brings together?" "Unity," Marcus suggested. "Or bridge, or hope," Jathera decided. "In my language, that word is Ashalin. In yours, it is hope. She shall have both names, Ashalin, Hope, Chen Jathera." Their daughter chirped happily, as if approving of her name. Outside the medical chamber, the galaxy was changing. Species that had been isolated for eons were meeting, sharing, connecting. Ancient grudges were being questioned. New alliances formed daily. It wasn't perfect. There were still conflicts and misunderstandings. Change was slow and difficult, but it was happening. And it all started because one human believed that everyone had a story worth hearing, that every being deserved to be understood, that beneath all the differences, there was something that connected all living things. Marcus looked down at his daughter, who looked back at him with eyes that held both human warmth and Crix wisdom. "Welcome to the galaxy, little one," he whispered. "You're going to help us remember what we should never have forgotten. That we're all family. That we all belong. That love is stronger than fear." Ashalin Hope chirped again and reached up with all 4 arms, trying to touch both her parents at once. In that moment, Marcus understood something profound. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their adaptability or even their storytelling. It was their stubborn, foolish, wonderful refusal to accept that anyone was truly alien. Their insistence on finding common ground, their belief that connection was always possible, even when it seemed impossible. The galaxy had spent billions of years building walls. Humanity had arrived and started building bridges, and their daughter, impossible, unprecedented, beautiful, was proof that those bridges could lead anywhere. The future was uncertain. Challenges remained. But for the first time in billions of years, the galaxy's species were facing those challenges together. Not as separate peoples, but as family. The end.